Number 5. In 2001, a man by the name of David Zink was involved in a minor car crash with a woman named Amanda Morton. David Zink failed to brake far enough back and crashed into Morton's car from behind. Immediately after the crash, Morton phoned police to inform them of the incident, telling them that her car was still running and appeared to be drivable. However, that was the last time she was ever heard from. When police arrived later at the scene of the crime, they found that her engine was still running, and she had vanished, leaving all of her personal belongings inside of her car. Morton's photo was quickly spread across multiple local news stations, and a statewide manhunt began. A few hours later, a local hotel manager recognized her photo and phoned police. He informed them of David Zink, who had signed in at a hotel earlier that day. According to the manager, the woman was with him, though from his report it doesn't appear as though she was in any major distress. The hotel sign-in sheet led police to Zink's home, where he confessed to kidnapping and murdering Morton. He then led them to a cemetery a short distance away, where he had tied her to a tree, broken her neck, strangled her, stabbed her, and then stuffed her mouth with mud and leaves, burying her immediately afterward. Zink's confession was later backed by DNA analysis found on Morton's body, as well as hair samples found in Zink's truck and paint found on Morton's car. According to Zink, he killed Morton because he didn't want to return to prison, as he had been released only 5 months prior following a 20-year sentence for a crime that was strikingly similar to this one. After hearing his case, state officials wanted Zink to receive the death penalty, though Zink's lawyer didn't want this to happen. He brought Zink's case before the Supreme Court on several different occasions, requesting him to be removed from death row, though he was denied all 7 times. In regards to these hearings, State Governor Jay Nixon responded, stating, "After serving a prison sentence for his crimes committed in Texas, David Zink abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered Amanda Morton. These acts were brutal and horrifying, and a jury determined that the appropriate punishment for her murderer was the death penalty. The guilt of David Zink and his crime is unquestioned, and my denial of clemency upholds the jury's decision. As this matter proceeds to its conclusion, I ask that the people of Missouri remember Amanda Morton and keep her family in their thoughts and prayers." Attorney General Chris Koster then followed this statement, adding, "The horror and fear 19-year-old Amanda Morton must have felt after being kidnapped by David Zink is truly unimaginable. David Zink callously took a young woman's life, and it's fitting he pay by losing his own." Ultimately, in 2015, David was put to death. Take a look at his chilling confession video recorded by police just a short while after he was detained.
You're trying to decide which way to do it.
Yeah, and I told her, in my mind, I said, well, it's probably the easiest way to break her neck. And so I told her to look up. She said, "Up where?" I said, "Up there." When she looked up, I broke her neck.
Okay. How did you do that?
Just snapped her
With your
with my
hand?
hands, yeah. That's when I took out the knife and I cut her. I just poked the knife in her neck and then cut it. So, to make sure that she was going to remain that way.
Okay.
And I'm under the firm belief she didn't know where she was at. Because if she had, she would have known that there was no barn back here.
Sure.
I mean, common sense would tell you, here's this guy, and he's got you pulled up in front of a damn cemetery, and walking you through the damn woods back here. What do you think's going to happen next?
Number 4. In June of 2008, 2 armed men entered a small music recording studio and opened fire on 2 aspiring Christian musicians in a robbery attempt that only netted $2. The 2 assailants, James Brodny and Demarius Cummings, were quickly apprehended as they fled in the victim's car. Once in police custody, Brodny informed police that they had robbed the studio expecting it to be occupied by, quote, "rich white folks." He then added that prior to leaving, he made sure the 2 men were dead. He then proceeded by giving a step-by-step account of what happened, stating, "I just blanked out. I shot him and he stumbled back. I shot the driver. He hit the ground, but he leaned up like he was going to try to get back up, so I shot him in the head. Then I shot his homeboy again, but he was still trying to run off. I knew he was going to die anyway, but just to make sure, pop, pop. I kind of regret what I did, but things can't change, so no use crying over it. Cummings later informed officers of a similar story, adding, "We didn't plan to shoot nobody and nothing like that." No, I take that back. I did tell him we probably had to pop them a few times or whatever. I did, but still, I didn't think he was going to do it. I ain't never seen nobody die like that, you know? It kind of shocked me, you know what I'm saying? I was shook. I feel really bad. I feel it was wrong, what we did. Following this, a small news outlet caught up with James Brodny to perform an interview as well as a video confession. Have a look.
Let's go out there where the rich white folks stay, you know what I'm saying, rob one of them, you know what I'm saying? So we get out there, so we walking through the parking lot, you know what I'm saying? And shit, somebody, I guess the motherfucker who was on the passenger side of the car, whatever, you know what I'm saying? We finna get ready to leave. I went back and asked, like, man, y'all got one of y'all got a cigarette? You know what I'm saying? He's like, yeah. So he went to go reach for it, pulled the pistol, shot him, shot the driver, or whoever the fuck he was, shit. He like, the one I shot at first, he stumbled back, you know what I'm saying, like dropped, got back up like he was finna run. The one I hit second, you know what I'm saying, he raised up like he was finna do something, so I shot him in the head, you know what I'm saying. Then the other one, shit, shot him twice in the head, just to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, I don't need that, you know what I'm saying, lay that shit down.
Number 3. In November of 2007, a man by the name of Danielfurlong abducted, assaulted, and murdered an 11-year-old girl named Jody Perrick. According to Furlong, he was outside cleaning his garage when he noticed the girl riding by on her bike. He then asked the girl to come into his garage, where he then assaulted her and tied her up behind a boat. He returned nearly an hour later and led the girl to his truck. He then put her inside and noticed a plastic shopping bag. He then placed the bag over her head and dumped her body nearby a cemetery, still gasping for air. He states that he doesn't understand his own motive behind the crime, and recalled that as soon as he had kidnapped the girl, he began to panic, not knowing what to do. Just a short while later, Jody's mother discovered her daughter's lifeless body in the cemetery. After this, it took police nearly 8 years to identify Furlong as the killer. Once arrested, he confessed to the crime without much hesitation, stating, "I just thought I was in the clear." Apparently, Furlong lived just around the corner from Jody's home, though he was never suspected as her killer until 2015, when Furlong attacked another young girl. The girl thankfully managed to escape, and after reporting the attack to police, he was heavily questioned, where they ultimately linked him to Jody's murder. Furlong, aged 65 at the time, was then charged with second-degree murder.
Last time I had a cigarette was probably August 10th. Asked this girl to come over to help me move some stuff. She got off her bike, came up to the house. That's when I grabbed her, took her in the garage, threw her in the back of this boat that was in the garage. Her hands were behind her back. She said, "Will you let me go?" And I said, "I can't let you go, honey." So I got her out of the boat. By that time it was dark out. Got her in my truck. I thought, now what am I going to do?
Why did you put the bag on her head?
I don't know. I don't even know why. About that time I was panicking. But you know, so I just wanted to get out of there.
Number 2. In June of 2017, a 14-year-old girl, along with her boyfriend who was also 14, murdered her mother and younger sister after a lifelong belief that her mother favored her sister over her. The two were dubbed the Twilight Killers and claimed that they slashed the mother and daughter's vocal cords before killing them so that they couldn't scream. In what turned out to be a chilling audio recording of Kim's confession, Kim states that her boyfriend was the one who actually initiated the attack. She says that she entered the room to find her boyfriend smothering her mother with a pillow. She then watched the attack for about 10 minutes before ultimately cutting her own mother's throat. They then continued on to kill Kim's sister in a similar manner. After this, the couple then took a bath together in order to wash off the blood from the victims' bodies. They then settled in for the evening, watched the movie Twilight, and had sexual intercourse, with Kim's family still lying dead in the next room. Police didn't find the family's bodies until 2 days after the attack, though as soon as they were tipped off, they arrested both Kim and her boyfriend, both of whom were charged with murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Take a listen to a clip from Kim's disturbing confession.
She was laying on her side, and I don't know really how he stabbed her, but he stabbed her through the neck. I went into the room to see what was going on because I heard noises and stuff, so I just wanted to check if he was okay. He was on top of her with a pillow over her head. Well, ever since I was young, I've never got on with my mum. I knew that she favoured my sister more than me. And even though she said that she didn't, I knew that she was lying.
Number 1. In 2016, a South Carolina realtor named Todd Kohlhepp was arrested after allegedly keeping a young woman chained by her neck in a storage crate located in his backyard for more than 2 months. After the woman's rescue, police allege that Todd is likely involved in 7 additional cases, all of which resulted in murder. When police were tipped off about Todd, they quickly flocked to his address, where they found a 30-foot by 15-foot storage container in his backyard. Upon their arrival, they found 30-year-old Kala Brown screaming for help from inside the container. Capturing the entire event on body cameras, police sawed away at the door, before ultimately breaking the lock free and rescuing Kala. Take a look at this extremely emotional footage that was captured of the event.
Do you know where your buddy is?
Charlie?
Yes.
He shot him.
He shot him?
Who did?
Todd Kohlhepp shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again.
Okay.
He says he's dead and buried. He says there's several bodies dead and buried out here, and he says that the dogs will be ruined if they go looking because there's red pepper.
Kohlhepp later pleaded guilty to 7 counts of murder and many other charges.
Kala Brown, as well as her boyfriend Charles Carver, had been missing since October of 2016. Though after rescuing Kala, they found Charles's body buried in a shallow grave on the other side of Todd's property. Todd was obviously arrested immediately, and while in custody, he confessed to 4 additional murders, all of which took place in a motorcycle shop back in 2003. This had been the only quadruple homicide in the county's history, and had remained unsolved until this day. Todd then led police to 2 additional areas on his property where he had buried other victims, though he didn't reveal their identities. Following his confession, police found his statements to have been trustworthy and highly believable, and tied him to all 7 murders. Take a look at a clip from his confession.
I left college, left my class,
Okay.
drove to Bowling Springs, put the shoulder holster on at the CVS parking lot, and drove to the bike place, bike shop. Got there, not everybody was there, sat on a few bikes, did my usual, basically stuck for time, and doing my best to make sure that the paying customers were not there. This was during the time, as you know, that it was not busy. I chose time that was not after work, when I would have a lot of people in there. Did not want to shoot other people. Finally, all 4 showed up. From the sound, it sounded like there was nobody else there. I'm sitting on a black Kawasaki Katana, 600 I believe. It's a crap bike. Told them I would take it, at which point the mechanic took the bike to the back to prep it. Sit around for a few moments, sit around the middle, where they were writing up paperwork. The building is very large, that's a 10,000 square foot building. Proceed to go to the back mechanics area where the mechanic was prepping the bike. Walked up, pulled out the Beretta, put the safety off, shot the mechanic twice. Downward angle. I immediately proceeded towards the front of the building.
Okay.
At that time, all 3, manager, owner, and the mom, they were Had heard the gunshots, obviously. All of a sudden I had 3 people in front of me. Mom was the closest, and I shot her 2 to 3 times in the chest. The owner and the manager ran for the door. Popped a few rounds and got one of them in the back. And he crumpled in the door and dropped the other one before he got out the door.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.